Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the grand adventure of business. Today, I'm really pleased to have Dr. Scott Fox joining me. Dr. Scott is a respected Australian practitioner of Chinese medicine, and he brings a fascinating and a holistic perspective to the world of business. He understands how physical and mental well-being are essential functions for a thriving entrepreneurial journey. So let's dive into this discussion with Dr. Scott Fox. I'd like to start by welcoming Dr. Scott Fox to the Grand Adventure podcast. Scott, I've come into contact with over the last month or so through a group that I know as the speedbiz.co. So if you're interested in that, have a look at that online. But love that you've joined me, Scott, and looking forward to the conversation we're about to have.
Thanks for having me, David. And yeah, appreciate you came on my podcast. So it's gentlemanlike of you, to gentleman's agreement, as they say, to have me as a reciprocal guest. So thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem at all. And I know let's get the plug out front now. I know that you've got your own podcast, and I know that you've got your own business. And so interested just to hear a little bit about both of those.
Well, I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine. My name is Dr. Scott Fox, and I'm a registered acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist. Yes, that's right. I am a doctor. I had to learn everything that a GP has to learn, or surgeon. It took me several years of learning. I was a sucker for punishment. I didn't just do the acupuncture degree. I also did a master's in Chinese herbal medicine. My background is that I was a security guard for 20 years, but 10 of those years I was actually a security guard within the hospital system. So and because I was learning about Chinese medicine at the same time, I actually got to ask questions, learn from the consults. What's a consult? Well, consults are the ones that stand in the emergency. Well, you actually don't see them much, to be honest. You don't really actually see them much. There's usually when there's a serious case and they're finding it difficult for whatever reason to get the patient to either be revived or get a line, for instance. What I mean by a line is get a cannula into a vein. Then you'd see that the consult would come out. The consults usually were a minimum 30 years experience. Some of them had military backgrounds, so they saw action. Some of them just had been in the hospital system, multiple hospitals, and majority of them, not all of them, the majority of them had actually done time in the Doctors Without Borders. So Doctors Without Borders is where they go to third world countries and they help the local communities out. So, and that's important. Why? Because they get to see everything. Because in those countries, you see like tuberculosis. We don't see that very often here. It does happen, but it's very rare. Yeah. So if you think that there's no tuberculosis in our community, I'm telling you right, there is. So in rare diseases, so yes. You just see everything in the hospitals. You do. You see every type of disease you can think of. So yeah, I got to rub shoulders with these people. They're unbelievable experience, and I got to ask them questions about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And that was imperative in my studies, because it helped me to complete my studies, because I understood better, because I saw it firsthand what they got up to. Yep. And then I started researching about medication, pharmaceutical devices, and it was very important, because now I understand when a patient comes to me and says, well, they did this procedure for me and this is what happened, then I go, well, this is the reason why. The doctor's never going to tell you this. My mentor says that the current medical system, they practice legal medicine. What do I mean by that? Well, they've got their little cookbook, and that cookbook says you have to follow this. You've got these symptoms, you've got this result from this test, then you have to do this for them. Give them whatever is his medication, or send them off for surgery, refer. Now, if they do that, you can't sue. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So and that's what he means by legal medicine. So that's what I say to them. Well, the reason why this happened to you is because this is what's happened. Because at the end of the day, these people are just human beings.
Mm.
They make mistakes, and some of the things that they're administering, sometimes they don't know exactly what that medication's going or that procedure is going to do to you, because everyone's different.
Mm.
And the problem is with conventional medicine, it's a blanket effect. What do I mean by that? Well, they give you a drug that is for that condition, but you might have a reaction to that drug because your body treats that drug in a different way to what most people would do. They call it pharmacokinetics.
Mm.
So, so yeah, it was a very important part of my life because I got to learn a lot about what actually happens systematically with our medical system. So now the reason you're probably thinking, how did you get into this crazy medicine,
Mm.
Chinese medicine? Well, it actually came back to my mother. My mother, in 1994, died from a rare type of cancer. It was called urethra cancer. You notice that cancer is location. So you
Mm.
get brain cancer, you get lymphatic cancer, you get throat cancer, you get urethra cancer. So she had urethra cancer. So not many people get it.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, well, they call it metastasized. So the cancer went into her bladder, then it went into her kidneys, and then once it got into her liver, well, that was it. They just basically kept cutting her away, and I was 22 at the time, and I had no idea what was going on. But I had this thought in my head that I thought, why, the diagnosis of death was 6 weeks. How could we have prevented this? That was the question I kept thinking. How could we prevent this? Well, and the more I asked the medical staff, the more they just got, like, who is this guy? What, if we don't have the answer, but but they sometimes they just don't know how to deliver the message, especially when they're put under the pressure of, well, this guy's asking a question that not many people ask. And the more I pushed them, the more I realized that the answers were very, very limited.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, they didn't have an answer. So that's when I realized that I had to change the way that I thought, that I had to change the way that I lived as well, and that I had to find an answer for the future, for future generations, because I could see that this was going to be a big problem. Because even like as a young boy, I don't know about you, David, but I remember in the 70s and 80s, they said, we've got a cure for cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you never hear anything. And then about 4 or 5 years later, guess what? We've got a cure for cancer. It's like a revolving door.
Yeah.
And but the drunk keeps coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And people keep dying from cancer. So yeah, so then I started studying in 2003. I found that they were doing degrees in acupuncture because when I was young, I did martial arts and I got exposed to acupuncture. I was an unusual child. I went and asked to get acupuncture, and my parents thought I was a bit crazy, but I could see the benefits because in the trainings that I was doing, we would beat each other up. We were hurting each other, and acupuncture was really good at getting rid of the pain pretty quickly.
Mm.
And you healed. I noticed that you healed a lot faster. And I learned a Korean hand acupuncture. So in just like reflexology.
Yep.
So reflexology is where they use the foot as a map of the body.
Yes.
Well, the Koreans use the hand as a map of the body. So
Okay.
it's a similar similar methodology. So yeah, we just stick these really fine, small needles into the fingers and stuff like that. And yeah, you get a headache or something like that, and form ski. And get the flu, get over the flu a lot faster. Like I said, and I thought, well, there's merit to this, and I was only in my teens, and but my father couldn't afford the the classes and the lot, and it wasn't recognised. It was like taboo. There's this crazy 13-year-old boy asking about acupuncture and wants to get acupuncture. What a weirdo. So yeah, so then in 2003, as I said, I'd started a degree. It took me 11 years
Yep.
to finish
Yep.
it. So I did it part time. They changed the curriculum twice. So I got because you're supposed to finish a degree in 10 years, but because they changed the curriculum twice, I, they gave an extension. So yeah, I finished it within 11 years part time at the start. And like I said, about halfway through the degree, I started working in hospitals, and that's when I learned the most.
Yep.
Yeah, I can say that I learned the most then about what happens. And then in 2016, I decided to be a sucker for punishment, and that's when I started my master's degree in Chinese herbal medicine.
Yep.
And yeah, and then I graduated in 2019. Got it just before the lockdowns, and
Yep.
I had friends that I went to uni with, and they had to continue their studies into 2020 and 21, and they said it was not.
Mm.
So yeah, the thing is, I watched my father. I've got a couple other stories about what happened to me in my inner circle. So my father as well, he passed away in 2017, but I say that he died in 2012 because he
Yep.
had a fall 2012, and pretty much after that, it was he crashed his car the same year,
Mm.
and of course they took his license off him. His quality of life just went out the door,
Yep.
and of course they just keep giving more pills. Yeah, the blister pack, the Webster pack,
Yep.
call it these days, and yeah, he had a horrible last 5 years.
Mm.
There's no quality. I thought to myself, this is crazy. There's got to be a better way. I watched my mother pass away. The other thing is being in the hospital system as a guard, we were doing 24/7 shifts. So a 24/7 roster, I should say. So we're doing crazy hours. And that disturbs your sleep. You don't sleep properly.
Mm.
And with the employees of the hospital, we had our own GPs. There we go.
Mm.
Anyway, so because there's like 10,000 people working at the major hospitals,
Yep.
so they had their own general practitioner surgery, medical. It's like a mini medical center, and they just get you in. If you were in that day, they'd squeeze you in. They'd usually squeeze you in, because you're only there just to get a script, and that's the problem because I couldn't sleep properly, and I was taking a multitude of medication. I was starting to get like my dad.
Mm.
I was taking melatonin tablets, prescription. I was taking temazepam, so
Mm-hmm.
that's a benzodiazepam, so it's a Valium. Um, and also I was taking Panadine Forte because the codeine is an opioid, and opioids has guess what, side effect that it makes you really drowsy, makes you tired, make you sleepy. So I found that I was rotating three because they usually work for about 2 or 3 nights, and then I'd have to start with something else. So I'd just walk in there, and he'd say to me, "What do you want this? What do you want this week? What do you want this month?" I'll be like, and I just thought to myself, this happened for months on end, or pretty much a year and a half or 2 years, and I realized that if I keep going down this road, I'm going to end up like my dad at an earlier age,
Yep.
much earlier age, and that's when I started. I had just graduated in 2014, and I started doing acupuncture on myself. I started taking herbs as well, and slowly got myself off the medication, and I started sleeping better. My sleep was all over the place because doing crazy hours still, but my sleep was better. And then in 2018, I started full-time practice. I started working for myself. I relinquished my security license, and yeah, I finished up with the hospitals. So and yeah, the um, so yeah, I watched my father go very slowly. He ended up in palliative care, and just a statistic for your viewers: 90% died drug assisted.
Mm,
That's the Australian population.
big number, isn't it?
That's 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
So one is going to die at home in their sleep.
Yep. That's
One,
amazing.
what? Yeah, 1 out of 10 people. The other nine are going to die somewhere, usually ICU, emergency, or
Mm,
palliative care. Usually one of those three.
yeah.
So yeah, that's my mission. That's my my purpose is to have a healthy community, and our mission is basically to help as many people get off their medication.
Great.
Because when I found out that once you get on that I call it the conveyor belt. Once you get on that conveyor belt, it's really hard to come off. Really hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the fact, Scott, that you've got a mission that you've locked yourself into. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming that that sort of grew over a period of time through those experiences and that sort of stuff. But when when did you find that you had one of the greatest challenges towards getting towards, overcoming your goal?
Geez, it probably from the start, 2018.
Yeah.
Because first thing is Chinese medicine is definitely not in our culture.
Yeah. No, it's not.
In China, oh
Mm,
my God, there's a herbalist on every corner. Not many acupuncturists. Not many people know that, but in China,
okay.
there's not many acupuncturists.
Yep.
There's heaps of herbalists. There's lots. There's one on every corner, and there's a reason because they in China, acupuncture is like considered like the physiotherapy. It's like an adjunct. It's like a allied health. But herbal medicine is like the surgery. It's like the surgeon. So yeah, it solves the cause. That's the other thing. And you got to remember, Dave, I'm practicing the emperor's medicine. This is not the village idiot's medicine.
Hmm.
This is the emperor's medicine. This comes from the emperor's court. So what does that mean? Well, it means that these were the smartest minds in China
Yep.
in history, in China's history, I should say. And these were not, yeah, as I said, these were not the village idiots. You didn't get thrown into the emperor's court because it was a fluke or because of political status. It was because you were really good at what you did.
Mm,
You knew the books back to front. You knew how to get a result quickly, and you could foresee what was going to happen. That's
yeah.
you basically most of the time they were gifted. What do I mean by that? Well, there's every now and then you'll come across someone that is gifted. Um, Not very often, but sometimes you will. What do I mean by that? So they read a book and they can tell you every verse. They can read the book back to you after they've read it
Hmm.
without the book.
Yep.
They they you put a mathematical equation in front of them, they can figure it out in 5 seconds, where you're taking 15 minutes to figure out how to solve the equation. These are these are the people that I'm talking about.
Yep.
They're just there's a famous doctor in the past in China. His name is Zheng Jing. He wrote a book called the Trees of Cold Damage, and it's famous. It's a famous book anyway. Around 200 AD, and he said there's three types of doctors, and the number one doctor, he said, was the one that was gifted, the one that could memorize everything you said, everything they read, and they don't ask questions. They figure
Hmm.
it out themselves. That's gifted doctor. That's the one who, yeah, these are probably the neurosurgeons, I suppose would be the equivalent.
Yep.
Because those guys, they, um, I'll talk about that later. There's an interesting fact about neurosurgeons. But yeah, these are the gift. So these guys were in the emperor's court, and they had to look after everyone. They had to look after the ministers that came to visit the emperor because he gave them the instructions: go out, give it to the people. This is what is required. He also had to look after the soldiers because they defended the emperor and made sure that he didn't get assassinated.
Yep.
And he had to look after the concubines. He had the ladies of the court. He had to look after the eunuchs. The eunuchs were very important. They were very important within the emperor's court because they were like the glue. They were the ones because they're neutral. See, they're
Mm.
gender neutral, so the they couldn't get into trouble. Go figure. Anyway, he had to look after them all, and more importantly, he had to look after the emperor and the prince or princess
Yep.
and the queen, of course. So the girls of the court, they had to be fertile. He had to make sure that the emperor was virile, and he had to make sure that the emperor and empress lived to a ripe age, or else he lost his head. That's
Mm.
pretty much how it rolled.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about it, um, if there was no imaging equipment, there was no blood tests. And how did they figure out if the emperor or empress, if they came down, they were sick? How did they figure it out? How did they work it out? They worked it out through pulse. So they just feel the artery here in the wrist,
Yep.
and that actually tells you what's going on internally. And I've
Mm.
been lucky enough to find someone that's willing to teach it. So that
Okay.
actually comes from the emperor's court.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, and that's yeah. So when you feel the pulse, then you don't have to ask the patient questions. You know exactly what's going on internally. So then you just give them the hertz, and that's how they figured it out. They
Mm.
just gave them the hertz, and then they kept their head for another day.
Yep.
No pressure.
So thinking about your business as it stands, how would you define success?
Success. Well, I've thought about this a lot over this. Success for me is, well, when everyone around you is happy and they actually have admiration for you, not so much notoriety, or more admiration. Lao Tzu talked about it. He said, the old adage, don't give a man a fish, teach him how to fish.
Yep.
And then the best teacher is not the one that uh, I can't remember the saying. Yeah, the teacher that's the best teacher is the one that doesn't take the accolades. Basically,
Mm.
it's the one that gives to the community to figure it out themselves. That's the best teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
So it that would be my understanding of success.
Mm.
Because I mean, it's all about relationships,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and I mean, the research proves now that the people that are the happiest are the ones that have the best relationships.
Yeah. Obviously, I know you would have hit a number of barriers as you've gone through business, particularly with the Chinese medicine and not being part of the Australian culture and all the rest of it. And I'm assuming that that's lessening a bit more as our population sort of multicultural nature changes. But what failures and setbacks have you struck, and what have they actually taught you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was always an employee. That was a really tough one
Yeah.
to become a boss. From an employee to a boss, it's very difficult. Um, that was really hard to tell someone that you need this done at a certain time and do it properly without losing your cool.
Yep.
That was um, that was and also have the gumption to do that as well, because especially in employee mentality, you're trying to be too pally instead of saying this is the
Mhm.
standard, we need to keep to this standard. Instead of drop, oh, we'll let you off this time. You drop the standard this time. Look, don't get me wrong. We all make mistakes, but if you do it twice, well then fool you for letting it happen to you.
Yes.
So
So what was it that kicked you over the over the line of no longer thinking as an employee and now thinking as a boss? Was there a particular incident? Was there a, you know?
well, self-preservation, self-preservation. It comes
Yeah.
back to self-preservation because, like we spoke about before, there's only three exits. So
Mm.
yeah, the burnout, done that one. You sell your business or you franchise it. So or have a
Yeah.
chain of of that same industry. So yeah, you can't do it all yourself, guys. I'm sorry to say, if you're in business, you can't do it all yourself. You're gonna need to get someone else to help you. So um, being able to um, give that instruction, whatever it is, with conviction, and also say this is the standard. We need to keep the standard.
Hmm.
If we don't, then okay, you're going to make mistakes. So what? No big deal. But learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
Learn from those mistakes. So the other thing is, yes, uh, the system we have in place here in Australia when it comes to employer employee, um, especially since the lockdowns, is just it's a bit crazy.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm speaking to a lot of business owners, and they're concerned about employing people because everyone's got anxiety, and
Mm.
then and they only have to say one thing that upsets them, and then all of a sudden you're in a tribunal.
Mm.
So so that's concern. But I mean,
Yeah.
if that comes back to you choosing the right people,
Yeah.
getting the right people in your business, people who want to achieve for themselves, but not only for themselves, but also for your business.
Have you got
I
some
mean
tips
that it
on how you do that? How do you find the right person?
I use disc profiling.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah, I use disc profiling. It,
Right.
it tells me what who they are and what positions are best for them. You don't want to get an influencer and put them in a contract uh, analyst position. It's going to drive them crazy.
Yep.
You don't you, you don't want to get a dominant and put them in an admin position
Yeah.
where they're listening to everyone and then taking in orders. That'll drive them crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with steadies. Your steadies, you don't want to put them in managerial positions because they'll be just too nice to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does the recruitment process look like for you then?
They go through a questionnaire. It's a bit of a process.
Mm.
They have to give me a video what they do
Yeah.
of the sorry of who they are. There's just some basic questions, who they are, tell them about themselves, what they want to achieve, which is unusual. I give them to try and give me 10 of their top financial uh, uh, goals are, and also the life goals. So financial life goals and personal goals.
Hmm.
And then if they can give me 30 of those, which most people can't,
Yep.
um, then they proceed to an interview stage, and then basically I just explain to them what I do and what is required of them. But from the disc profiling, you know pretty much straight away.
Oh, yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No,
because they do a questionnaire first. They do a
yeah,
questionnaire first, and then I figure it out who they
yeah.
are.
That's,
So
I,
yeah, it's a bit of a process. It's three stages to it. It's
yeah,
three stages.
but I think that's a really cool way of actually being purposeful about bringing the right people into your business.
Oh yeah, as I said, you don't want
Yeah,
the conservative.
yeah,
It's selling your products. That's
yeah.
it. They're going to sit in the office all day.
Oh, look,
That's all
absolutely.
they're going to
And
do.
I
And they
think
analyze
there are a lot of,
analyze how you sell stuff. That's
yeah,
it. They won't sell anything.
I think there are a lot of small business owners out there that are struggling with that. How do I recruit somebody who is going to stay with my business? And I think you've hit the nail on the head to a certain degree. You're not 100% sure that they're going to stay with your business, but you've got a more
Yeah.
percent of likelihood that they will stay than your average, builder down the road who's just bringing on someone who can lift heavy weights.
Yeah. The average. I saw a report about 2022, I think it was. Because I got a lot of networking meetings, and they said in that um presentation that it's around about 2 years. That's how long you'll retain an employee,
Mm,
around about 2 years. But I mean, what I just told you about disc profiling, all the big companies are using that.
yeah,
Coles, Woolworths, they use all that. All of them. Government even uses it.
yep,
Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Some sectors of the government use that. Some don't.
absolutely.
They call it nepotism, I believe.
Yep.
I think they call it nepotism. I'm not sure about that.
I won't say
They're
whether I've
among
seen that
cousins.
in,
All good.
in play or not. So,
Oh,
Scott,
I have.
it's been
That
great
was
chatting
really.
to you. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you through the Speed Biz Network. And
Thank you.
certainly
Yeah, yeah, me too.
if I'm down your way at some stage, or vice versa, if you're up this way, love to catch up and have a coffee. But for now,
Yeah,
thank
of
you very
course.
much for your time. Really appreciate that you've given me your time to do this, and I've loved the interview. So thank you for all of that.
Appreciate it, David. Just a little bit of information for people out there. I mean, there are alternatives to your health, and just trying to brick by brick help as many people as possible in the community. Because I've just found that over the last, especially the last 4 years, that people aren't getting the answers they want for their
Mm.
healthcare. So I'm trying to give them that answer. So thanks for giving me that opportunity, David.
What a wonderful session with Dr. Scott on the grand adventure of business. I'm now welcoming Gary Schuler, who's been with me through this journey. Gary, welcome along, and could you introduce to us, please, the bosun's call?
Yeah, absolutely. Loving what you just did and the interview. So, my question to you, I guess, David, is how important is holistic health from family, finance, emotion, physical, etc.?
It's a great question, Gary. It's important that we, as entrepreneurs, we maintain our health. And when I talk about our health, I don't just mean our physical health. I mean our mental health, our management of stress, all of those issues. I would go on to add our spiritual health. Whatever your belief system is, how are you in that belief system? But when I break this down very quickly, we need to think about the sustainable energy and focus that we can get through our physical health. We need to think about our stress management. Business naturally comes with pressures and uncertainty, and it's worth working out how you manage your stress. For me, I tend to internalize my stress. So I find outlets like four-wheel driving and wood tuning as really, really helpful in that particular position. Then we need to think our emotional intelligence. What is our mental, our emotional well-being? What does it look like? That's empathy, communication, that leadership effectiveness. How does that emotional intelligence play into those spaces? Then we've got work-life balance, and I've always struggled with the term work-life balance because I think work and life that's what you do. You do life.
Yep.
And so I don't like to separate them, but I understand where people are coming from. What is that balance? And, where do you place the emphasis? Are you in your business all the time? Are you with your family? What does this grand adventure look like for you? And is that balanced? And then the last one is that whenever we're in a good, balanced physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional state, we can actually make better decisions. And that's what the entrepreneur really needs. So that's the bosun's call for you for this time, Gary.
Fantastic, David. Well, as always, brilliant. You might want to sign off.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, thank you for listening to The Grand Adventure. Love to have you come on board, listen every single time we put an episode out. So look forward to the next episode. Subscribe. You can also follow me through my LinkedIn profile and my Facebook profile. Get on board. Join me on the grand adventure of business.